Welcome to our Spotlight Talk with artist Gisela. My name is Moira Anderson and I am a part of the public programming team here at Crystal Bridges. To start our program this evening, I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and pay respect to the Osage, Caddo, and Quapaw people, elders past, present, and future. We acknowledge and offer deep gratitude to the ancestral land and water that supports us as we are gathered here today. I'd also like to take a moment and express a very big thanks to those who helped to make all of our education programming possible here at Crystal Bridges, to our dedicated volunteers and our members who support all of our programming as well as exhibitions. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to the sponsors of our Spotlight Talk series, Ken and Liz Allen. And finally, a thank you to our generous exhibition sponsors, because without them, the Crystals and Art exhibition would not have been possible. They are James Seagrass with Avant Line, James Dyke and Helen Porter, Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, Frank and Pat Bailey, Mary Beth and Nikki Mayfield, Morris Foundation, Kyle, Mari and Finn Peterson, and JT and Imelda Rose. If we could just all give them a wonderful round of applause. It's an honor to introduce the speaker for this evening, who is an artist of the 2018 work that was included in the exhibition Crystals in Art Agent to Today, Gisela Colon. And she's going to be discussing her work tonight, along with light, space, and beyond. Gisela is an American contemporary artist who has devoted a unique sculptural language of organic minimalism, breathing lifelike qualities into reductive forms. Her sculptures embody qualities of energy, movement, and growth, merging the industrial with the natural. Originally from Puerto Rico, Colon's diverse background brings a cross-cultural approach to her practice. Her sculptural work continues a conversation with the Latin American geometric modernism and the legacy of the op art. In 2019, as part of that continuing dialogue, Colon's work was presented alongside the work of Carlos Cruz Diaz in Brussels, Belgium. She has been influenced by minimalism, particularly the works of artists, which, as a side note, all of these are included in Crystal Bridges' permanent collection: Donald Judd, Dan Flavin, Agnes Martin, and many others. Her sculptures reside in permanent collections around the country, including the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the Museum of Contemporary Art in San Diego, the Perez Art Museum in Miami, the Butler Institute of American Art in Youngstown, Ohio, and the Frederick R. Weissman Foundation in Los Angeles, California, among many others. She currently lives and works in Los Angeles, and we are so honored to have her visiting here in Bentonville for a second time this evening. She did join us just a few weeks ago for the opening of the exhibition. You're in for a treat tonight, so please help me welcome artist Gisela Colon.
Well, thank you, Moira, for that nice introduction. And it's really a pleasure to be here this evening. The museum asked me to give a talk on light and space because there's a really nice example and sampling of all of the light and space artists in the Crystals exhibition. So I don't know if you've had a chance to go see the show, but we can walk through it afterwards. So I'm going to cover light and space, I'm going to cover my work and my work in the context of contemporary art today. I have about 95 slides and I'm going to go as fast as I can but still get all the information to you. So light and space falls under the umbrella of minimalism in general, and there's two salient minimalisms in the history of art, which is the East Coast minimalism and West Coast. Light and space is West Coast minimalism from California, from the Western region. And the primary, even though you can look at some of the artworks and they look similar, the primary differences kind of lies in the intention of the artist. So on the left side, you have Donald Judd. And Judd said that things that exist, and everything is on their side. And Frank Stella, also a member of that original minimalist movement, said what you see is what you see. Now, in contrast, on the West Coast, on the right side, you have Larry Bell. And Larry Bell was all about light shadow and reflection. And another example of West Coast artists thinking was that they wanted you to see yourself seeing. So the primary difference between the two strains of minimalism lies in the fact that the West Coast art dematerializes, kind of dissolves into the environment, and that's a feature of most of the artists that practice in that medium. So it's basically art that is ephemeral, and it kind of has like all these other qualities that melt, that are not very concrete. So that's where we're coming from. And there are terms, you know, like finish fetish and other words that have been used to describe West Coast minimalism, but the primary one has been light and space. And we're going to back up to the beginning. The beginning in the West is all about the land. And we start with the geographical location, and the concept of light and space is really tied to that part of the earth, which is full of open space, and there's a lot of the kind of that feeling of transcendence and the pursuit of the sublime. And the sky has a real presence, a sense of atmosphere. It possesses incredible beauty, and a lot of people are drawn to that geological versus human time feeling that you get in the West. There's also the feeling of silence that you get when you look up in the sky at night in the West. There's the vastness of the universe, and humans can connect to the earth and the sky out West in ways that they don't do in other regions. So that's kind of the backdrop of the geography. And also you had in the Native American tribes, specifically the Cahuilla Indian tribe in Palm Springs, that's a social background that existed at the beginning of time. And this is an example of an oasis where there was these vortexes of energy that they would tap into. And so there's a real energy that comes from the land in the West. And then you overlay that with the Spaniards that colonized the West, and they basically built all these missions throughout California and New Mexico, and the names that they gave all of the places all have religious connotations. So they were named after saints like Santa Barbara, San Francisco. So the root of Spanish culture was really steeped in kind of a spiritual and religious connotation. And even Los Angeles has a Spanish name that means the city of angels. So doesn't that look like a slice of heaven? You know, so you have this is the backdrop of the creation of art. Now we move to modern times, and in the modern era, some of the first artists of the West involved mysticism in their work, like Agnes Pelton, which you see on the left side, and Georgia O'Keeffe on the right, who is very connected to the earth. And all of that creativity stemmed from the land. And Agnes Martin, in my opinion, is the grandmother of minimalism in a broader sense. She's a painter who bridged the gap between abstract expressionism and minimalism, and she moved from New York, she left New York, moved to Taos, New Mexico in 1967, and she was looking for solitude. She wanted to empty her mind. And some of her best work was created in the West, and she followed Eastern philosophies such as Zen Buddhism, Taoism, and she pursued thought as a form of discipline. And why is Agnes Martin important to our discussion? Because she embodies a fundamental philosophical position of many artists in the West Coast, which is that art transcends the material. So abstraction should invoke an emotional response in the viewer. And life and nature very much influenced her. A lot of the titles to her work were titles drawn from nature, like the tree, morning, wheat, desert rain, the spring, tundra, orange grove. So Agnes Martin, which here at the Crystal Bridges, there's a fantastic example of her painting in the permanent collection. And you know, you look at it and you say, well, it's just so, there's just nothing there, just a bunch of lines. But now knowing what you know about her, you can see that it's about transcending the material and looking at something that gives you an emotional response, and that's where she was getting it from, was from the open spaces and the land. Now, John McLaughlin, he's the grandfather of West Coast minimalism. He was a painter in the 1950s that really kind of invoked a minimal body of work from Japan. He traveled a lot in Japan, and he was influenced by Eastern philosophy. And although his work appears hard-edged, there's much more. His paintings, if you look at them, they split the eyes in two. you can't look at that painting and put your focus in the center. And so that's the origins. Light and space origins really come from painting, because what it does is it forces you to have a perceptual kind of experience, because you can't focus and it splits the eyes in two. So it's a really interesting genesis of light and space that it came from painting. And then in addition to those early works, you have to take into account what was Los Angeles in the 1960s. Los Angeles was defined by a space-age aesthetic. And there was a ton of available new materials to artists that had never been available before. High tech, there was a combination of open light and space and Eastern philosophies that permeated the psyche, and then the modern space-age architecture and materials overlaid on top of that produced a perfect storm, if you will, the perfect backdrop for artists to produce something entirely new, which is a new age of art, which is the age of light and space, which is the true first indigenous art movement that came out of California on the West Coast. So in 1971, LACMA, which is the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, started an art and technology program, and they paired artists with scientists. And in this picture, you see Robert Irwin on the left and James Turrell on the right, and they were inside this anechoic chamber for 8 hours. There was no sound, it was dark, and they just sat there completely in absence of everything. And when they came outside, they saw things for the first time, and Robert Irwin describes how he's walking down the street and he says, "Oh my God, I looked at the leaves of a tree for the first time as if I had just been born." So these were kind of things that were happening that created the artists, they led artists to create this new kind of art that was about perception. And Irwin developed these infamous discs where he wanted to dissolve the painting so it had no edge. So then the light interacted with the piece and it became something else. It was no longer a disc, but rather it was about shadow, reflection, refraction. And he also developed these prismatic columns, which there's one in the Crystal Show right now, which are an incredible example of how an object can dematerialize into space and just disappear. And his magnum opus is this hospital in Marfa, Texas, which is an art, it's basically architecture, and one side of the hospital is all white, and the other side is black. Of course, it's not an active hospital, it's just the footprint of what used to be a World War II hospital that he made into a piece of art, and it's all about the light changing throughout the day, coming through the windows, and you walk through the space, and it really is transformative how you have to pay attention to all these little details that you probably would miss before. And interestingly, in the center of the hospital, outside in the courtyard there, he places this found basalt rock piece. So he literally took a piece of the earth and he put it as a marker of geological time into his work. And it speaks to the point I made at the beginning about these West Coast practices kind of linking things always to the metaphysical. And he's one of the most secular of all of the artists, so he doesn't talk about spirituality or any of that stuff. But how he always talks about the sense of wonder and a sense of awe that nature creates in him. And this is an example of that. Now James Turrell, he has much more of a spiritualized approach, and he was raised a Quaker, and his magnum opus is this volcano in Arizona that he purchased in the 70s called the Rodon Crater. And this is a work of art, and he's been working on it for 40 years. And what he's been doing is putting stuff inside it that the public can't go in there yet. There's no access to it yet. But he's been building all of these installations where you can commune with the sky. And I have a great quote that he says, "You could say that I'm a mound builder. I make things that take you up into the sky, but it's not about the landforms. I'm working to bring celestial objects like the sun and the moon into the spaces we inhabit." So his focus is on the celestial, the cosmological, and the beauty of the universe. And here at Crystal Bridges, you have a fantastic sky space in the trail that's like basically a circle. I don't know if you visited, but you should visit it and just sit in there and you look up into the sky and it brings the sky down to you and really creates a great experience. And he also has these beautiful immersive light installations where light becomes material. And you feel it in color and in the way it feels to your body. Now, Doug Wheeler, he also created these incredible immersive installations, whole rooms of experience, and he was highly influenced by the desert and the West Coast landscape. This room that he's standing in is a semi-anechoic chamber that was conceived in 1971, and he has a plane, and he'd fly to the desert, he'd land in the desert, and he'd sleep under the airplane at night. And he talks about how the silence and the stars and that feeling of vastness and solitude were really amazing to him, and he conceived this chamber where people go in, and I had the pleasure of being in there for 30 minutes, and it was installed at the Guggenheim in 2016, and for 30 minutes I was in there. And you can't talk, all you do is breathe and you listen to your heart. And it's a really incredible experience of making yourself feel alive when you're devoid of everything except your own body. And so Helen Bastian, one of the few women in the light space movement, interesting, I'm going to just give a short quote that Turrell talks about her because they're friends. And he said, I worked with light and sort of materialized it. Robert Irwin worked with material and dematerialized it into light aspects. Helen was the sculptor, spiritualized the material world. You can sort of materialize the spiritual, but she was coming from the other direction. And I thought that was really interesting and beautiful in her work. So her magnum opus is this 12-part column installation at LACMA. And she has these little kind of hidden objects in the column, so as you move around the work, things appear and disappear, and it's really magical because it's really an embodiment of life. And she produced these 12 light columns in her 70s, and somebody asked her, why did it take you so long to create this body of work? And she says, because things just take time. And that's a really interesting quote because it's kind of fundamental to the whole light and space movement, which is to experience this kind of art, you just need time. You have to take the time to, walk around the work, think about it, look at it, experience it. So time is an important factor. And in the crystal show, this is one of her smaller resin pieces. It's about this big, 6 inches or so. And it's really magical because it's very kind of concentrated, but it still activates the space just like her columns. Peter Alexander, he also has a piece in the Crystals exhibition. It's a floor piece, but he used resin. And from 1967 to 71, he created these pristine objects of beauty and wonder, and they were wedges, cubes, windows, ways of looking through a window, and they were tabletop size. Because back then, you couldn't pour really large objects. The material of resin, you have a limit on how big you can go. So his objects were on the smaller side. Now along came Dwayne Valentine, who's a good friend of mine, and he's a real cowboy from Colorado. And as a teenager, he would bake crystals in his mother's oven because they had the military had basically declassified some of the polyurethane resin, so he would get quantities of it, and he'd go and he'd pour the stuff and he'd bake it, and his mother would come home and start yelling at him, like, why are you doing this? Oh my God, the whole house stinks. Because he was obsessed with getting these kind of small crystalline appearance objects that he would polish. And he was frustrated because he couldn't make objects that were bigger than about this big, like Peter Alexander. So he developed scientifically his own resin, and it was produced in 1967, I believe, with Hastings Plastic, and it was named Valentine Mascas. So it was named after him, Dwayne Valentine Mascas, and that allowed him to do this. He produced these giant objects that were monumental, 8 to 10 feet in size, some 12 feet in size. And you see him pouring on the left a barrel of resin. Well, sometimes one of these objects would take 10 to 12 of those barrels, and they all had to be poured simultaneously before the resin started curing, because the exothermic reaction was so violent that some of these things would explode, because you got so much heat built up. So because of this discovery that he did of this new resin, he was able to cast things like this. This is his magnum opus. They're 2 12-foot columns, and they're just monumental. They're really incredible. And this red circle is about 8 feet in diameter, and it's in the collection of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. The material was a real breakthrough. And Fred Eversley also cast discs of his own, taking advantage of the new material, and he built upon that. And he was an engineer for Wyatt Laboratories, so he developed a different way of casting in which he spun the resin literally in a centrifugal machine, so that on one side it was flat and then it curved up on the other side. So his discs are actually concave on one side, flat on the other, and he calls them lenses because they're like a lens of looking through to the world. Now Larry Bell, he used glass, and he's famous for his cubes, like you saw in the very first slide. And they create an activation of the surrounding space because you can see through them, they reflect, they refract, they do all sorts of things with the light, and they look like they're floating. He also created these kind of immersive, large standing wall installations. And now Mary Corse, she also uses glass, but you know the little beads that are, when you see when you're driving on the road or the highway and they reflect, the paint on the reflects back at you. So she took those little micro glass beads and she put them into the paint. So that's how her canvases actually reflect light. So what's really interesting about Mary is most light and space artists are sculptors, but she really is a painter, and she's the only painter. And she basically didn't want to make a painting of light, she wanted the painting to actually be light. So that's how she incorporated light, because it reflects, as you move around the work, you get actual reflection. The light becomes the material that you're working with. Now, John McCracken, he's an interesting fellow. He made these really sleek finish fetish objects, and he invented the plank. You see on the left side, the plank that touches the wall and then it touches the floor. So he literally bridged the gap between painting and sculpture, because the top touches the wall like a painting, the bottom touches the floor like a sculpture. And his planks were kind of real otherworldly. You know, he believed in UFOs. And he moved out to New Mexico, and he really, really believed in that whole, there's life out there, and his objects were meant to be kind of like from another planet. And he also believed in the power of crystals. And all his faceted works from the 80s, you see these two ones on the floor, were based on the structures of crystals and the crystalline formations. And this is the piece currently in the exhibition. That's a great example of his crystalline forms. And a lot of people don't know that he's the classic minimalist, and a lot of people have no idea that he was connected to crystals. So it's a really really brilliant way of bringing this out about his body of work to have into this exhibition. And Judy Chicago, who is known as the pioneer feminist artist of the early 70s, interestingly enough, a lot of people don't know that in the 60s she was a minimal artist in California, and she developed this incredible body of work of domes these were shown at the Pasadena Art Museum in 1968, blocks that were very minimal in appearance, and she's one of the few women, in fact the only woman at the time who went to automotive spray painting classes, and she learned how to paint cars, and she was like one out of 250 guys. And she perfected her technique, and she did a wonderful job. And here she is today in an exhibition of her minimal forms in Los Angeles. And she also did these works called atmospheres, which have been very influential to me, in which she put out this kind of ephemeral colors into the environment with the idea of feminizing the world. Because she goes, the world is too harsh, and I want to put the female impulse out into the desert, out into the world. And she still does these atmospheres. And last but not least, Craig Kaufman. Craig is best known for his vacuum-formed lozenges and plastics that have beautiful atmospheric qualities, and he painted the backside of the plastic with automotive lacquers. And sometimes people say, oh, Gisela, your work reminds me of Kaufman, it was reminiscent of Kaufman. And I say, maybe only to the untrained eye. Because it's very different. He was always the consummate painter, and he approached his work purely as painting. And after 1971, he stopped working in this body of work and he went back to painting for like 30-something years before he revisited his plastic forms again. And so that's a perfect place for me to talk about my work. And even though I've been inspired by the light and space people, I'm friends with a lot of them, I'm very different in the sense that I'm making art in the 21st century, and I'm a woman, and I'm from Puerto Rico, and I'm coming to it from a very different point of view, which is kind of a real organic, lifelike point of view. And so, you know, I grew up in Puerto Rico, in the small island in the Atlantic Ocean. It's a tropical island full of rich colonial history, and there's a merging of cultures, African American, with the Native American Taino tribes, and the Spanish. So I grew up really within a place which is really vibrant with a lot of energy and ideas. And I had the, you know, really good fortune of being able to spend a lot of time all around the island, because my parents would take me many different places. And here's a wonderful example of Taino tribe ceremonial park in Caguana, Utuado, which was built in the year 1200 AD. So it's over 800 years ago, and we were able as children to visit with these amazing monuments of the past. And in addition to that cultural heritage, the island has incredible flora and fauna. Here's a picture of a yunque rainforest. A yunque is an anvil, and the forest is shaped like an anvil at the top. Here I am as a young girl in the rainforest. There's also incredible beaches and sky. There's a real sense of the earth. Here's a phosphorescent bay in Lajas, Puerto Rico, which is full of breathing with these kind of creatures. So you get out of the water and your whole body glows. You literally have glow all over because they're like, they have light at night in the phosphorescent creatures. So these are just some of the examples of what I grew up with. Tons of jellyfish in the ocean. Plants, like these are really mysterious plants. This plant is called Morir y Vivir, which means I live and I die. And when you touch the plant, it literally grabs your finger. It closes up instantly. So it's like these plants are all jungly and alive. And here's the coquin, which is the native frog of Puerto Rico. And he's a very interesting little frog because he has never been able to live anywhere else. You know, they've taken him to Hawaii and different, you know, tropical locations, and he will only live in Puerto Rico, which is a wonderful little mystery because he sings at night really fantastically. And I had lots of animals here. I'm at the age of 4 with my rooster. And I never was scared. You know, a lot of kids were like, oh my God, don't give him a rooster, they're gonna peck the eyes out of the poor kid. And I don't know, I grew up around so many animals that it was easy for me to handle them. And my mom is a painter. In this photo, you see there's a painting I'm sitting above a painting that I would help her paint. So I spent lots and lots of time as a child just exploring oil paints and, you know, just being a young artist. And my dad was a chemist, a crazy chemist, and between drinking rum and playing dominoes, he did manage to discover that the Sahara winds from Africa brought deposits of sand to Puerto Rico in the air in the 1970s. And I remember thinking, you know, back then that was a real revelation that we were all connected on the planet. So I remember thinking, wow, I can't believe that all the way from Africa, all this stuff comes to Puerto Rico. So it was my first recognition of the connectivity that we experience on the earth. And my other grandfather was a cartographer, and from him, I learned the love of looking at the earth from above. And my grandmother was a phlebotomist, and she worked in a laboratory for many years. From her, I learned the love of all the microscopic aspects of the world, of looking at things that are really, you know, under a microscope. And I had lots of other relatives, but they're too weird to put them in here. Not appropriate for this lecture. I eventually graduated University of Puerto Rico, and then moved to Los Angeles, which we saw at the beginning, which is an incredible city full of energy with the freeway snaking through the land. And I mean, it's just such a vibrant place. Diego, Los Angeles, California desert, and now Arkansas, because this is an amazing place. And I just was blown away when I first got here. And I just saw the Ozarks and the nature of the crystals. I was really taken. So I focus a lot on every form of light down to the atomic particles and the energy that exists in the world. Look at the strands of our DNA. It's really fascinating when you look at things like this about how this is inside of us, and you have this spiraling, beautiful, cyclical aspect, fluid geometry that's inside us, that's full of energy. And I love looking macroscopically at all of the forces of the universe that are around us. You know, the way that the planets, you know, orbit the sun, the moons, and if you think about all of time, gravity, that whole laws of the physical universe are really incredible, how we're always going through change and transformation and movement, and the universe is all of space and all of time and all of their contents. So it's really unfathomable when you think how everything is always expanding and in motion, and all of that goes into my work. And so I've titled my practice Organic Minimalism, and organic really refers to the connection to the earth and the universal forces of energy that surround us: time, gravity, movement, growth, transformation, you know, similar to the physical states of matter. So my work feels a lot like liquid, gas, and solid, you know, going through the various iterations of the physical states of matter. And minimalism is just a label of convenience that refers to the historic discourse that I described at the beginning, in which art shifted the focus from the subjective state of mind of the artist to the objective state of mind of the viewer. So, in other words, it was the first movement to say, hey, it's not about what the artist was thinking or feeling. No, it's an objective art that anybody can access and anybody can experience, and it's about the subjective state of mind of the spectator, the viewer, the participant of the art object. So that's why I use minimalism, because it's really about that, shifting to the individual. And then also because the objects are fairly streamlined and pared down, and you can say, oh, they're minimal, but the truth is they're quite complex. The simple doesn't mean lack of complexity. And my work is about humanized geometries, so all of my forms are based on geometry that has been torqued or pulled by hand. So this is a trapezoid that has been melted and pulled and changed to a different direction. So I make them lifelike, like cells or organic creatures. And my work also has a fluid color spectrum, so depending on the angle of viewing, as you move around the work will change. And this is the same piece viewed from two different angles. So it depends on the angle of viewing, and it depends on the available source of light. Is it natural light? Is it artificial light? So all of that will change the work. And also, I would say that my sculpture is universally fluid, so it oscillates between genders. You know, like my pods can be deemed maybe kind of reproductive and feel kind of feminized in a way, because they're maybe vessels containing life or eggs or seeds. But then my monoliths are very masculine, and they have that kind of really masculine power and strength inside them. So it really kind of oscillates back and forth. And I would say that my work relates to, historically, also, in addition to the light and space artists, to sculptors like Louise Bourgeois, who has these highly kind of sexualized totems for her phallic works. And also maybe even my pods might relate to her cumulative egg-like reproductive works. And also I see my work relating to Yayoi Kusama, her lifelike, thriving tentacles, how they kind of move and oscillate and feel like they're alive. And here at the Crystal Bridges, we have this wonderful infinity room. So Kusama also invokes references to the cosmos and the universe through her infinity rooms, because they're replicating the patterns out in the sky, in the planets, in nature. And of course, Judy Chicago, we already mentioned. Her domes feel like they're seeds containing life. And And her atmospheres are very important because the same way she intended to feminize the environment and create kind of an ethereal impulse into the world, my monopolist, I try to do the same thing. So on the one hand, you have this strong shade, but on the other hand, the surface is so ethereal and it changes with the light. It's really soft and slippery and almost has that kind of dichotomy between the strong and the soft. And so it really has that positive sense of transformation and futuristic feel to it. And my work also relates to contemporary artists today, practicing today, that actually also have cosmological references in their work and references about organic life, and they merge kind of the industrial with the organic. And all of her lives, there's a piece in the exhibition right now of his that has a real kind of star cosmological reference. And this one is the sun that he did at the Tate in 2003. And here he addresses light and perception also, kind of from a universal perspective. Alicia Quade, her sculptures speak to planetary systems and time and gravity and movement. And I love the way she incorporates, an industrial material with a rock, because that's the juxtaposition that we're talking about. So it's a combination of both things, And Jose Davila, also a sculptor that merges architectural systems of tension and applied movement with the earth and organic matter, such as rocks. And you see how he ties these glass panes together? It feels like something's about to happen, like something's going to break or burst. So it's that sense of energy that you get from the work that's in the work. That's fantastic. And Veronica Janssens, she also addresses human perception and light reflection and instability. And she has cosmological references in her work, like this kind of powdery dust on the floor. And Daniel Turner, who's a very interesting artist, the dust that you see on the floor there, what he does is he burns things. So he takes a whole cafeteria and he burns the whole thing down, and then he takes the dust and he scatters it on the floor, because he's addressing the states of matter, going from solid to liquid to gas. And here's a piece that he did where he burned down a hospital waiting room and he made it into a log. So that to me, that is the epitome of the whole sense of transformation and change. And Mary Baramian, she also combines industrial materials with kind of organic forms. Here's a steel armature with these kind of blobby little creatures. Here's another installation of hers where they're all kind of mating and doing weird things. So I just really like that energy, the kind of growth that she has. And I'm almost done. We're at the very end here. So all of these artists that I've touched on today, there's so many more I could talk about, but I had to compress it to the basic. They all deal with universal concerns of life and how we all are connected. And ultimately what I see is that we are all together on this blue ball, this beautiful blue planet floating in space. And my art, and I would hope a lot of the art that I've talked about today, really addresses what binds us all together, the positive aspects of us as humans and how we are all together on one planet. And that universal connectivity is really important, and I hope that I've been able to convey tonight that essence of where my art comes from and where all of this other art kind of fits together in the discourse. So thank you very much for listening, and appreciate being here. And if you guys have any questions, I'm all yours.
So when you think about the idea of scale, your works range from just like wall works, and then you go just very large scale.
I'm going to go back and talk about the scale.
How do you decide in terms of like what works and what scale?
Interesting, because it's a very good question, because my monoliths, I cannot make them small. They just cannot exist small because it's so important to have that scale, that they feel powerful. But now the pods, because they're kind of that more, I don't know, I'd say reproductive in a way. You can go down to like a small little cell and still have the energy coming out of it like if it was real life. You know, but the monoliths are more stoic and they're just stronger and they just have to have the scale. So it's a really interesting question because it's just visceral for me. Like, what can go a little bit smaller, what has to be larger? So it's a real visceral feeling, you know? So, I mean, what do you like, the bigger ones or the?
I'm all about in your face. In the mountains.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of forces you to really stop in your path, kind of step back, examine, and then you want to kind of go really like close to the thing, seeing how things are changing as you're moving, you know, out there around.
Yeah, and the monolith is interesting because these are the parabolic monoliths, which have an elliptical form at the base, like an oval. So from one side, they look thinner, and then all of a sudden you walk around and they become this real thick, massive object. So that again, it has that duality that you have to discover. So it forces you to go and investigate the piece and discover what the work is about. But they're also hermetic in a way. Like you can't penetrate them like the pods. Like, you know, when you look at a pod, you can kind of see through it a little bit. It's more translucent. And I intentionally want them to be like this, more of like a mysterious, you know, object that you're not sure like where it came from, where it's going. You know, I've had people joking that they go up and they go, beam me up, you know. So, you know, I want it to be a little bit more hermetic and mysterious than the pods. So again, the covering all spectrum, like, you know, between like translucent and not translucent, and all of the duality of life, you know, masculine, feminine, you know, everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's really hard to look at your work or experience your work without thinking about how it has come to be. Can you share some of your process? How it's made, like how it does come into existence? Is that something you can share with us, like our process about
Sure. I didn't talk a lot about process today because it's limited time, but okay, so the monoliths are basically made with an aerospace technology, so they're made the same way as a rocket or a jet, and it's carbon fiber, so it's like many layers of carbon fiber that have been compressed and formed so there's no seams at all. And that's the way I wanted it because I just didn't want, you know how the traditional minimal object has always usually been 90-degree angles or corners or boxes or things that you can really see where the object finishes and there's a definite partition or an end. And I wanted them to not have parts or subparts. It's almost like I wanted it to be such pure form that you just look at it and you don't really see an edge to it or any demarcation at all. And the carbon fiber and aerospace technology allows you to do that. You can make huge objects. In fact, I'm working on one right now that's 25 feet. So these are 15 and 12. And I'm making one that's 25 feet tall because I just want to go bigger and bigger and have that purity of form. So that process allows you to keep that. Now the pods, whole other process, are made out of layered acrylic and optical materials. So a pod might have 5, 6, 7 layers inside it. So I build layer upon layer, and then that translucency of the layers, when the light penetrates, allows the light to kind of bounce out and reflect, refract, and that's where you get the fluid color spectrum. And so just a whole other process. And I have the pods, I actually have a studio with employees that basically help me fabricate them. So everything gets, you know, the layers get heated in an oven and then they get, you know, cut and glued. It's just a whole process.
So my question now is, mediums and styles that you work with. When was that moment that you kind of really started to work with this like medium here, and you kind of realized, I like this. I want to keep doing this. How do I keep expanding this? What does this mean for me?
That's a great question. You know, I originally started as a painter, because as a child, my mom, that's what I did with her. I painted oil. And so when I first started professionally as an artist, I started painting, and I remember, reaching the point and saying, God, this is just so boring for me, because I was just like, it's been done, just with the paint on the square, the rectangle, and simultaneously with that, I started becoming friends with Dwayne Valentine and some of the light space people, and it was my friendship with them, like I would go hang out at Dwayne's studio and start looking, and I said, God, I should just, it sparked my idea that I'm just going to move in a different direction completely, and abandon painting and just try something completely new. And I tried acrylic first, and my first step was actually to paint the acrylic, kind of like Kaufman. And I said, but that's been done before. And then I decided, scrap the paint, get rid of the paint. I'm going to try and make a sculpture with no paint at all. So I shed the paint, and I started forming different materials until one day I had that eureka moment. Water comes out of the bathtub, right? And I'm looking at the sculpture on the floor. I just put layers in, and it started glowing back at me. That's my secret juice, which I can't tell you, but it started glowing back at me, and it was that ray of light that hit me in the eye, and I said, God, this is, I'm onto something here, and that's what you're talking about. That was the moment I said, this is something that can work, and I should go in this direction, because I'd never seen anything like it before. And so that led me now to, I've been doing this for about 6-7 years. And then the pods, basically the nucleus and the pod, eventually I kept on thinking, what if I took the form inside of the nucleus and I further simplified the vocabulary and I take the form out, the inner, what you guys say is the inner form inside of the pod, like the nucleus, and I put it on the floor. I made a first acrylic monolith. And then beautiful piece, right? But it still wasn't as pure as I wanted, and then that led me into investigating the whole aerospace industry, and eventually led me to these works here. So it's a journey, but it's a really fun journey, if you're doing what you love, which I do. So, thank you.
I'm just curious, how much do those weigh?
The monoliths?
Yeah, 2 monoliths.
Okay, they're actually on the lighter side because they're carbon fiber. So the 15-footer is probably like 1,000 pounds, which is light for, if you're talking about like stainless steel, like Richard Serra, you're talking tonnage, right? So that's a really positive aspect of having a carbon fiber sculpture. It's really futuristic. It's cutting edge. It's new. You gotta, like as an artist, I would say, God, I gotta do something with new materials that have never been used before. And so that led me to this. Exploring the future. What else? Yes.
So, you've been working at this for 6 years. You've been doing this now. Do you ever anticipate, I know this is large, do you ever anticipate going large?
Larger.
And is that possible to go larger than that?
Yes. I'm working on one of these that's 25 feet tall right now. So like almost double the size of this one. And proportionally the same, so like the base is probably 9 feet instead of 5, everything's proportionally expanded. No, I want to make it 50 feet tall. I just need to, I need to get the money.
And thinking about just the light, so these works, they transform when they're inside a building, inside a space, versus being outside, direct sunlight. What is the different conversation that those have in work and the impact that kind of has for the viewer?
Well, they totally change depending on whether it's like, let's say it's nighttime right now, and for example, the pot in the gallery is nighttime all day long because there's no natural light. So you get a kind of a darker, moodier object, and then that same object, when you put it in broad daylight across from a window, the color spectrum would be completely different. It would be kind of pale and ethereal, and so you get like this huge fluid color spectrum and variation. And it's my intent that it be that way. That's why I call them mutable objects, because they mutate according to everything around them. And the monoliths also. So like, right, if you have a monolith that's indoors, it's more subdued, and it's a beautiful finish. But if you put it outside, the sunlight will totally activate the holographic finish, and it'll go more dramatic on you. So yeah, it's just part of the work. It's kind of like they're a little bit alive. That's the whole fun that I have with them. I try to make objects that seem lifelike and that have the same qualities that will be an organism that's alive on the earth. You're welcome. I love your questions. So we could go, if anybody's interested, I was going to propose we could walk to the crystal show if you guys want, or I can answer questions there in front of some of the objects. Yes, let's do it.